ProEdgeWire. We're with David Morgan, the world-renowned expert and the founder of silverinvestor.com. How are you today, David?
Doing well. Thank you, Tracy.
Today, the most timely topic that everyone's talking about around the world is the presidential election. We want to know what you think about what's happening right now and how it's going to affect us in the resource sector, David.
There's been two approaches during this debate, and one is Obama's approach, and he's got basically a threefold approach. One is to develop alternative materials, and I find that laughable. I mean, I don't want to make fun of anybody, including the president, but there aren't really alternatives to these rare earths. That's what makes them rare. That's what makes them unique, and that's what makes it so imperative. Second part was the material optimization and recycling. I don't really know what material optimization means, but recycling, sure. But there really isn't that much to recycle at this point in time. A lot of our very high technology products, such as our touch screens, all touch screens, like the iPads and iPhones particularly, or the Droid, any of those take rare earth elements, and there's lots of other high-tech products that do as well. Obviously, the hybrid cars. And the last one would be, according to Obama's, to enforce the World Trade Organization edicts. And that's fine, well and good, but me being, very free market approach to things, a bureaucracy like that is going to do an investigation and a study and then a committee and a subcommittee, and then they're going to have a ruling committee, and then they're going to go back to the first committee saying that they changed their mind, and it'll just go on forever, not really do much. Well, meantime, it's not getting any rare earths above ground. Governor Romney had a different approach, and I think it's more of a practical approach. One is streamlining the regulatory permitting process within the several states of the U.S. So in other words, get the red tape away from letting these people go and find the rare earths within the continental or the contiguous United States, and opening federal lands to resource development. So basically, I think it's a clear-cut two-step approach. Both of them make sense. If we're not going to be able to get them from China, get enough from China, let's go get what we have here and let's streamline it. So I think that's a far better approach than what the Obama mandate was.
And I know you're also a leader in solutions. So going back to the presidential election and their positions on the resource sector, do you think that we benefit with Obama or Romney? Which one benefits us overall for actually producing not only new resources, but increasing revenue and taxes that may generate a solution to this looming debt we're dealing with?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I'll take them at face value, meaning I believe what they say, which is a very big risk when you're dealing with politicians. But based on that presupposition, I'll say this: far think that Romney would do a much better job. If he really does follow through with what he says, you basically need to cut the red tape, which is what he talked about when he was talking about the rare earth space. And that is to get the states, give it back to the states, get the federal government basically out of the way. They might have some regulations and a little bit of oversight, but basically let's go and do the job. The more jobs that are created, the better the tax base and the better chance you have of getting out of these problems. At least you reduce the unemployment situation somewhat. And, if you really go back to one of the articles I wrote almost a decade ago, I talked about something very simplistic. Very few people think about it. And that is that all wealth comes from the land. Either you dig it out of the land or you grow it on the land. In fact, here in the Northwest, where the Northwest Mining Association is founded, and I'm a member of it, we have a bumper sticker that says if it can't be grown, it has to be mined. And it's that simple, but a lot of these people that don't understand the basic concepts of how wealth is created by mankind are anti-mining. Well, if they're anti-mining, they better get rid of their cell phone, their flat screen TV, their automobile, their bicycle, and everything else, because all that stuff requires mining. So it's important, and it's important how we do it. And the U.S. particularly is probably one of the best countries as far as regulation is concerned, and making sure these miners do a very, very clean and pristine job of not only getting the elements out of the ground, but also leaving the environment better off than it was when they started the mining. So I am obviously pro-mining, but I'm also pro-good steward of the land, and the U.S. is pretty much a leader in other countries that don't have those type of mandates that are mining by old school technology. And, there's really not much that we can do about it other than set an example as far as I'm concerned.
David, what a pleasure. And remind our new, maybe someone who hasn't heard of you before, where do they subscribe to the Silver Investor?
Well, there's two URLs. One's themorganreport.com, all one word, or silver-investor.com. Either one will get you to the same website. And everything is explained on the right-hand pull-down menu. There's three levels of service: a basic plus looking over my shoulder on what trading I'm doing, and then an advanced service. So it's pretty well explained by videos on each of those three services. In addition to that, we do have some free stuff. If you want to get on a free weekly email list, you can do that as well.
David, as always, it's a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Tracy. It's always a pleasure on my end, too.
Thank you.